Okay, let's talk about your life lesson.
Yeah, of course.
And how that plays out. Nope, I have had your print,
She
so
knows.
I already know. Okay, so Ava's life lesson is what we call the failure frustration life lesson. Mm-hmm. This can be a tough one sometimes. And what happens with somebody with this life lesson? First of all, what I have to say about life lessons is they're not real. They're literally an illusion.
Fabricated.
They're an illusion.
Right.
That we just believe is real. So when it's your life lesson, it's really easy to see the world through that lens. And it's not really what's happening, but it's just like there's this part of you that it's just like the lens gets blurry. We tend to go unconscious. It's hard to see what's happening around this area. So when you have a failure frustration life lesson, what can happen is there's several different ways it can play out. You can be really perfectionistic at times. You know, like, I'm going to be so perfect that nobody could possibly know that I make mistakes. Or you can really drive yourself hard to succeed and have a hard time finding that balance between work and play. Sometimes you can be really good at, like, throwing yourself into work and forgetting
1
to,
a.m.
like, allow pleasure, you know, that kind of thing. Other ways it can show up is you will be so much harder on yourself than anybody ever would be on you. It's like somebody who has this life lesson, like, you could have a to-do list with 10 things on it, and you get 8 of them done, you know, which is pretty good.
That's really good.
Your mind will not be focused on the 8 things that got done. It'll be focused on the 2 things that didn't get done. You could be in a room full of people, 100 people, and you have 99 of the people in the room's rapt attention. They're so interested in what you're saying. One person gets up to walk away, and you're like, oh my God, I lost them. You know?
Heartbreak. I've had that.
So, you can tend to be, like, really drive yourself hard. This is a life lesson. Or you can feel like a failure, even when you're not. Even when you're completely succeeding, like, you feel like you're not succeeding. So sometimes it's even, like, you just have a hard time registering success when it's happening, even if, like, you haven't failed. Or, I mean, the obvious, too, is, like, you know, bumping into failures, like, a high level of frustration can happen. So I wanted to throw that out there and see if you could kind of speak to that, of, like, how you've experienced that.
Right. Just that feeling of, I'm totally a perfectionist. It's really hard because then I do get wrapped up proofreading things a million times or going through and trying to tweak words, and then I feel like I give a lot more time to some things that maybe don't need all of my time. Thankfully, I have an assistant now, and so that's really helpful with that. So I've been able to delegate some of that stuff out, which I think actually for any of you who feel like you are a perfectionist at heart, there are some ways that you can delegate things out, and then it kind of takes care of some of that problem. And then I also do, I do focus on if I had one person upset in a class, or one person who, I don't know, where they walked out, or, well, I've not really had that happen because usually people are in a room, but yeah, I can always think about that. Like, even right now, I can think about every person who's ever been frustrated or upset in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing, you know, what I like to say about life lessons is when you have a particular life lesson, you have delved into what's difficult about that aspect of life. So you know, like, essentially what this life lesson teaches you is how to be successful.
Right.
And it sometimes teaches it in a really intense kind of way because it just, like, you know, pushes you, like, it challenges you in that area. But what I always say is, like, if I'm going to look for help in success, this is who I'm going to go to. Somebody who has the life lesson around failure, because she's been to all the dark corners. She has explored, like, all of the roadblocks. She knows exactly where this gets hard. And in working through that, and in finding solutions to that, and in finding ways to register success, to have done be better than perfect, you know, like, all that kind of stuff, she's going to know the terrain. She's going to know, like, the roadmap out of hell, you know, like, how to get out of perfectionist hell.
So bad.
Yeah. So it's really important. Like, the thing that you struggle with the most is generally where some of your greatest gifts are that you have to offer the world. And so I like to say that because sometimes it's like the part where we beat ourselves up, but it's really like what you really have to offer. I am not going to go work with somebody who has never struggled a day in their life to learn about success.
Right.
What could they possibly have to teach me if it's always come easy, you know?
Right.
So often, like, it truly is your greatest gift that you have to share.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, and I think, too, just that whole idea of being a perfectionist, but also trying to bring new things into the world. I keep
Yeah.
thinking about that you were saying, that I want to please people and want to have things come out to the world that seem perfect, but then also knowing that I'm also here to push people's buttons and kind of push things and bring really new ideas.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really interesting thing to juggle there. And it's hard, and that's scary sometimes.
It is, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what you've just summed up really well is often what happens for people. Our hands bring up all the paradoxes in our life. Mm-hmm. All of those places where we get pulled into different directions. You know, the innovator who wants to be perfect. You know, the leader who struggles with, like, getting things done sometimes. Right. Like, all of those things, like, all of those places where different parts of you bump into each other, I really believe that that's where we live most of our lives. And I say that to people all the time. You know, you don't have the same challenges as Ava, but you absolutely have parts of you that are completely at odds with other parts of you. And that sometimes is the thing that is so useful to, like, really, you know, to have your hands read, to really see the whole map of who you are. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and to speak to this. It's so helpful. Like, when you have anybody who's out there that has like a similar life purpose to you, or like has the same life lesson, it will really speak to them. So thank you for being willing to do that.
Of course. We've all got our spots.
We do. We do. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here today. Again, I'm Christine Gulrajani of Success is in Your Hands, and this is Ava Waits
of AvaWaits.com.
Feed the source of your success. Check out Ava's website. Sign up for her newsletter email list. Yep. She's great videos that she sends out, and tips of, you know, nutrition and feeding the source of your success. So business and nutrition, it's like where they intersect. It's really cool. Thanks so much for being here today.
Bye.
Bye-bye.